Now I'm going to go talk to a guy who's at the center of a conversation about another important issue, Paul Shelley. Paul, how are you?
How are you, Tim? Nice to be talking to you. I think it's the first time for sure in a while, but certainly on the open line shows.
Yeah, no, it is nice to be talking to you. Great day for your company. Obviously, you've been awarded the right to negotiate a contract for some significant civil works at Muskrat Falls. Paul, I mean, you were on VOCM earlier today. You were talking to Terry Hart. You've been on other media outlets. How do you respond to? And people already know my stance is I think any company, as long as they've adhered to the proper procurement processes and are able to do the work, should be allowed to do the work. How do you respond to what Aecon and your former colleague Sean Skinner, who I do respect, have said about your win and foreign companies working here in Newfoundland and Labrador?
Yes, well, thank you, Tim. Thanks for the opportunity, by the way, to discuss this. Matter of fact, I bumped into Sean yesterday and we had a little chat. But, you know, in all fairness, I mean, I understand that this industry, which I'm not very familiar with, is very competitive, number one. And we're all competitive in our own ways. I certainly am, and I know Sean is. We all want to win no matter what we do. So I understand that. But at the same time, I was, and I've told him, a little taken back by those comments. Surprise is probably, I'm trying to use some pretty subtle words here, but the reality is this, Tim. When I hear a statement like that and think about us as a province, us as a country, and one of the first things I think about is how Canadians go abroad. I mean, if we had to reverse that, and every time a Canadian company, some great companies out of Newfoundland and Labrador, by the way, as you know, if we had that same attitude when we went into other countries. So that's my first response to it. And then when I think about us and how we've grown as a province, we've attracted companies like this. I mean, that's something to be very, very proud of. And the fact that Astaldi, who, by the way, are in, let me give you a little bit, in 25 countries around the world doing projects. They're 90 years into business. We're not talking about some companies just coming for a quick fix here. And one of the things that attracted me to Astaldi from the very beginning when I spoke to him about a year ago, this company is not here to do a project and leave. Muskrat is their beginning. They really feel that the opportunities in Canada, like many countries do, and that's what we build to do. We try to make ourselves attractive. And, of course, they came here and I spoke to them, and one of my first questions was their plans, and they are here for the long term. They'll be setting up offices here in St. John's and in Goose Bay. And they are looking at other projects down the road, so that was big for me.
What about Sean's suggestion, and he didn't speak to speak of Astaldi specifically, that, what we have to be careful of with companies that come from the outside is cost overruns. They don't understand the culture and the environment. You've talked a little bit about what Astaldi is going to do now. How do you respond to that concern?
Well, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised with that, too, because we got to look at the bigger picture again. And I know the three criticisms is Canadian experience and understanding Canada, right? And the North. And, of course, the culture, knowing the cultural differences, especially as it pertains to our Aboriginal groups, and in this particular case, especially knowing the Innu and having good Innu relations. And the other one, if I remember right now, Tim, is the climate, and, of course, the harsh Labrador climate. Well, I'm going to address three of those. First of all, and this may be news, so I'm talking to you first, but we are just starting to get Astaldi known here in the province and in the country. Canadian experience, I can tell you today that our project manager, the person who will be running this project, is from Canada. Worked up north, worked near Labrador, over 40 years experience, including hydro dams. So that answers that question very quickly. And, of course, you'll see the names of the people on our team come out, and you'll see the Canadian content, but more importantly, to me, Newfoundland and Labrador content are some of our main people with experience. And by the way, this is the good thing, that we've got people who've worked out west who've never had the opportunity to work at a project of this magnitude with some high positions to come to our company. So that's an opportunity that I've always been waiting for, and it's starting to happen. So as far as Canadian experience, Labrador, and Newfoundland experience, we've got it. As far as cultural, I can't announce this today, but I will tell you in a short while who our relations team is, who we'll be working with on the ground, and a full plan that we have in place for making sure we have great relations there. And by the way, Tim, I mean, I was 3 years minister in Labrador, so I certainly know the people. I lived in Labrador myself for 8 years, so I'm going to be part of that team. And another point was about the climate. And yes, I understand cold Labrador. I worked outside. I worked outside, and I know you do. And it is true. A good point by Sean. That it is a harsh climate. We have to understand that. So our project manager did work in the north, matter of fact, north of Labrador. So he understands that. But I just want to let you know today that this project will be under an integrated cover system. What I'm telling you is that project will be inside in Goose Bay for the 4 years that it's there.
Okay. Last quick question, Paul, because you're busy and we've got a couple of other calls here. How many, I mean, the obvious question, the employment question, how many jobs will this generate?
Well, and there's different phases, of course. Peaks and valleys in it, but at times there's 1,500 jobs there, even more at times depending on production and so on. But the unions, the agreements are there, and it's very straightforward and simple. Inuit people first, and the Labradorians first, adjacent to this project, and then Newfoundlanders, Labradorians, and then across the country. So we'll need more time to talk about that. But I can say this in closing, that this process, and knowing Estali and Nalcor was one of the toughest groups they've dealt with as far as due diligence and being thorough and stringent. So this project wasn't won easily. It was won by a lot of experience, and at the end of the day, it's the best deal for the provinces when it comes to a company that can handle this project. All
right. Well, thanks for calling in today, Paul. Good luck with the project. I know lots of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians will be looking to see how they can benefit from it as well. Take care.
Thank you, Tim.
Take care. That's Paul Shelley from Astraldi, former provincial minister.